Good afternoon. Today we are learning Mesilat Yesharim. We are on page 117 of Rabbi Miller's book, and we are in chapter 1.27. We said that this world has two functions. Number one, on one hand, we're trying to come close to Hashem. On the other hand, we have obstacles that are testing us and preventing us. And the world around us acts as a mask to hide Hashem. On the other hand, the world around us, if we look deeper, reveals Hashem and tells us wonderful things and the power of Hashem. Now, we said that everything in the world can either be taken to support a person's negative beliefs or to support his positive beliefs. Hashem made the world so complicated that both the atheist and a religious person will see what they want to see. And if a person looks at the world without any bias, then he will be able to see the truth. He will be able to see God. Just like Avraham was able to figure out that God exists without knowing that there is such an entity as the Creator. He figured it out from the world. So on the bottom of page 117, he says, it is important to clarify this matter and be convinced that it is so. The book of Kohelet starts out, Havel Havalim, Amar Kohelet, Havel Havalim, Hakol Havel. Basically means everything is futility, everything is Hevel. Hevel means it is nothing at all, empty. That's what Kohelet says. Everything is nothing. He goes through a list of things from the beginning to the end. Many things pass before our eyes in review. He points out that it's all nothing. Our sages in the Mishnah ask a fundamental question regarding this. Hashem, at the beginning of the Torah, contradicts Kohelet. Kohelet was written by Shlomo Melech, King Solomon. So King Solomon says that the whole world is nothing. And in the Torah we say, Hashem saw everything that he did, and it is very good. So what is it? Is it empty, nothingness, vanity, or is it very good? If the Creator praises the world, who has the right to disparage and say negative things about the world? The answer is that Kohelet is teaching us that everything has two sides. Hashem said it's good. The intention of Hashem in creating the world was that we should use the world for a good purpose, to see God. The world is good because it's showing God. But at the same time, Kohelet said the world can be misused. Everything we find in creation can be very good or it can be hevel. In a different form, this idea is expressed by the verse, Ki Yesharim darkei Hashem. The ways of God are all straight. V'tzadikim yelchuvam. Tzadikim will walk on those ways. They will make progress in the right direction. Uposhim yikashelu vam. But the disloyal ones will stumble on those ways. That same road that is made to lead you to success is the same road that can cause you to stumble and fall, and not by accident. It's made for that purpose. As we said, a person has freedom to choose, freedom of will. You can choose what to do with the information, with every situation. You can use it for good or you can use it for bad. And a tzaddik will choose to use everything in his life for good. And a poshea, someone who sins on purpose, will use it on purpose for bad. As just yesterday we were learning Yehoshua, and we were learning about the fall of the walls of Jericho, of Jericho, and we decided to check it out. Have there been archaeological digs of the site? Did they find any walls in that city that would show us that the story that is written in the book of Yehoshua is exactly what we find there now? And we were surprised by seeing two opposing accounts. Both the atheists and the religious people on both Jewish and Christian side base themselves on the same archaeological digs, but whereas atheists say, you see, the archaeological dig proves conclusively that everything that's written in the book of Joshua is nonsense. It's all not true. It's all made up. On the other hand, you have the religious people, both Jewish and Christians, who say, you see, that same archaeological dig proves conclusively that everything written in the book of Joshua is true to the minutest detail. How is it possible? They're using the same scientific archaeological discovery, same facts, same artifacts, and one comes closer to Hashem, and one is convinced that his path of atheism is correct. What did they find there already that it causes such confusion? And the answer is that Hashem on purpose doesn't give us clear answer. If we would find on the ground a proof that God exists, no one can argue, then we would lose our freedom to choose. This way Hashem gives us something, and we have a choice. Are we going to interpret it positively or negatively? Are we going to say, wow, look at this, it's a collapsed wall, it shows that the story is true? Or you're going to say, oh, you see, we do the carbon dating, and yes, the wall collapsed, but it happened 8,000 years ago, so it must be the story is not true. Or they claim, since there was no weapons found, must be there was no war. And there was no war, must be there was no conquest. Must be it was just a natural earthquake, no war happened. While missing the point that in the book of Joshua it says that the Israelites did not have to fight. The wall collapsed by itself. They didn't have to ram it with any equipment, and there was no war. The people of Jericho were so scared, they just gave up. So again, you take the same information, the same path you walk on. One person goes on that path and ends up in Gan Eden, and another person goes on that same path and ends up in Gehinnom. Chas v'shalom. So the same phenomena, the same arrangements that could lead you to the great success can also cause you to go down the path of destruction. God forbid. When someone utilizes the natural resources of his mind and chooses according to the dictates of virtue which are naturally in him, and he listens to the counsel of the Yetzer Tov, so you have to use your mind, and you have to use good inclination, Yetzer Tov, and you have to apply proper character traits, not be swayed by improper desires. Then this man will succeed in utilizing this world to become great and successful in his quest of trying to achieve closeness to Hashem. Now, we find this everywhere. Hashem gives us challenges, whether it is that he gives us delicious food, any food you want, a person who is in control of his desires will use the food to praise Hashem, to thank Hashem, to enjoy it, to enjoy the world, and push him to become a better person as a thank you to Hashem who gives him so much good. Or a person can choose to eat the same food, but it's going to destroy him because he's choosing to indulge in it. He's overeating. He is eating things that may be harmful to his body, and he's not stopping at a little bit. He eats too much of not healthy, and he's forgetting to thank Hashem, to make a blessing, and then that same food will destroy him physically and spiritually. Now, we go to page 177 to read the note at the end of the chapter. From one of his lectures, Rabbi Avigdor Miller says, one of the most fundamental principles stated in Chovot HaLevavot and emphasized even more in Mesilat Yesharim is that our lives in Olam Hazeh, in this world, are for the purpose of being tested. That's the language of Mesilat Yesharim. Kol inyanei haolam hinehem nisyonot ladam. Everything in this world is a nisayon, a test. Everything is literal, means every object and every event, every process, everything that is put into this world in our lives is for the purpose of testing us. He makes no exception. That's how we have to understand the words of our sages. They thought before they spoke, and therefore if they chose to use a certain expression, they meant it literally and to the fullest extent. So if he says everything in this world is a test, it must be everything. Everything? Yes, everything. Now, the Talmud says in Masechet Sanhedrin, whenever the enemies of the truth, of the Torah, seek to find support in the words of the Tanakh, the answer is found nearby in the Tanakh itself. Which means, very often, whether it is Christians, whether it is atheists, whether it is Bible critics, they try to challenge us from the words of the Torah, of the Tanakh, the 5 books of Moses, of the prophets, or the writings. They focus on a statement, they take it out of the context. And the Talmud tells us, if you want to answer their claim, just go a little bit before or a little bit after. If you take a few more sentences, you look at the bigger picture, you look at the context, you will see that what they're saying is false. Wherever our enemies quote verses, if you look into the Tanakh, you will find immediately nearby a refutation. So you can say truly that Hashem put the refutation into the Tanakh. It was intended for us to be able to refute their claims. And that's true. Hashem knows the future. He knows that words of Torah can be misinterpreted. And therefore, he put nearby an answer for any potential claim. However, if you don't know any Tanakh, if you're not familiar with the Torah, the prophets, or the writings, then be careful not to dispute with those people, because they will probably come prepared and they'll tell you what you say about this, and they will misquote, mistranslate, misinterpret, take out of context, and you not knowing, you'll say, oh, I don't know, I never knew there is such a verse, I have to think about it, I don't know. However, those who know Tanakh, they will quickly see how false their claims are. However, there is one more thing we learn, a chidush, that the opportunity for them to make the claims was put in the Tanakh in the first place. Both the claim of the Yetzer Hara and the answer to give it were put in the Tanakh. Which means if you learn superficially, you will see questions. And if you don't bother to research it, you'll just stay with the question and you'll think that your question is valid and there is no answer. But if you search for the truth, you will go further and you will ask. You will find the answer for sure. Hashem included in the Pesukim certain forms of expression which would mislead the non-Jews and the atheists, and he made it as a test for us, which means for us it's a test that if we pass we get a reward. For atheists and the non-Jews it's a stumbling block. For us it's an opportunity to grow. For them it's a path to Gehinnom. For example, atheists or the non-Jews may say, look, it says in the Torah, Elokim, Bereshit bara Elokim, which means the word Elokim, God, is plural. Oh, they say, that's interesting. Doesn't it mean that there is more than one God? They have a question. The question seems very strong. And it seems to support the idol worshippers who say there is more than one idol. And it seems to support the atheists who say, oh, once there are many powers, it means they were invented by people. And in that they're right. And they say, look, even in the Torah, you have mention of many gods. You have Elokim, which is plural, and you have Hashem, another God, and you have Shakai, and you have Kel, and you have this one and this one. Must be Jews also believed in many gods. And as much as you will tell them, no, I'm Jewish, I'm telling you what I believe in. Don't tell me what I should believe in. We don't believe in multiple gods. We don't believe in idols. We only believe in one God. So they say, why is it plural? And we say, because Hashem wanted to lead you astray. We're learning that this world is multiple tests in making a choice between the truth and between error. And Hashem has put into the world and into the Torah pitfalls and snares for those who wish to be deceived. Just like we said, the verse says, the ways of Hashem are righteous. Tzaddikim will walk on straight paths, but the bad people will stumble on that same path and fall. So, the same thing. If you just read another few words, and you will see that God is singular. Elokim is plural because it means force, and we in our world see many forces of nature, so we call them the forces. But we say above all is one force, and that is Yud Kei Vav Kei, that is Hashem. To our perspective, we see the wind, we see the sun, we see gravity, electricity, we see many different forces. But there is one unifying force behind all of them. We say Hashem is the master of all forces. That is why it's written in plural. But right next to the word Elokim, there is another word, bara. Bara is singular. So don't tell me that Elokim is plural because the word bara, created, the verb, is singular. Must be the one that made the action is only one God. To us, it seems like many. So in the same verse already, there is a question and there is an answer. The question is for those who want to stumble, and the answer is for those who want to pass the test. The same phenomenon that guides tzaddikim to give on the way of righteousness, the very same phenomenon was intended to give the bad people an opportunity to trip, to fall down, and be ruined. Now, when you look at that statement, Ki Yesharim Darkei Hashem, the paths of Hashem are straight. It includes everything in the world, because paths of Hashem means all the ways that Hashem interacts with the world. It includes history, it includes nature, it includes psychology, everything you can think of. It includes halachot, it includes musar, ethical teachings, even the laws of Torah and the ethical teachings of Torah are opportunities for people who wish to deceive themselves, to be tripped up, ensnared, to fall down and ruin themselves by learning the ethical teachings and the laws in the wrong way, or for selfish reason, or learning how to trick others. And therefore it was intended for that purpose. Everything in the world should be used that way, and you have to be careful. I have an opportunity. I can use it or misuse it. Now we come back to page 118, the last paragraph. When the Mesilat Yesharim tells us that Hashem put man in a place made to deceive you, to deceive us, you have to realize that this is referring to people who do not bother to look. But if one would use his eyes and think more deeply, then the world is made to teach man. Like it says, Chacham einav berosho. A wise man is one who has eyes in his head. What does it mean, eyes in your head? Means your eyes are high above your body. They see far, and they see above the immediate desire that you have. What's going to be further down the line? I open my eyes and I explore further. Not only I have a plate with delicious food in front of me, let me dig in. No, but what's going to be later? I might become not healthy because of so much unhealthy food. So the world is created to deceive us if we choose to be deceived. Hashem doesn't deceive us by force. And Mesilat Yesharim continues on page 119. If a man allows himself to be drawn after these things, like the population of the world does, he goes further and further away from the true good. It comes out, if you study the situation, he is actually put in the middle of a strong battle. And now, let's go back to the end of the chapter, page 178, and we'll read one more paragraph. And that is, if one would use his eyes and think more deeply, then he will realize that the world is made to teach man. In the book Sing, O You Righteous, Rabbi Avigdor writes, for the ways of Hashem are right. The righteous walk in them and the wicked stumble in them. All the matters of the world are tests for men. Those who do not choose blindness are able to see the Creator's footsteps everywhere. For all things are expressly planned to proclaim the Creator. All your works praise you. The glory of your kingdom they say, and your might they speak, to make known to the sons of man his mighty deeds, as we say in prayers every morning. But those who choose blindness are intentionally given opportunity to be encouraged in their errors, and they stumble and fall on the very road which leads the righteous towards the truth. Hashem put the world into their hearts so that a man should not discover the work which God made. This is Kohelet. You have a whole world to distract you. And if you choose to go after the world, distractions of the world, yes, you will not discover the work which God made. And another verse, you impose darkness and it becomes night, says in Tehillim. This refers to this world, which is similar to night. You impose darkness, you put a lot of cloudiness, a lot of confusion, and becomes night. You don't see the truth. For this is the world which is intentionally planned to allow men to deceive themselves. But, the verse says, the heavens relate the glory of God, and the firmament tells of the works of his hands. God made so that man should fear him, Kohelet says, which means everything in the world can bring you closer to fear of Hashem. On the other hand, we have a statement, all that God created in the world was for the purpose that man should fear him. This is a midrash. The universe demonstrates that although truth is purposefully concealed from those who seek to avoid it, yet the truth is abundantly available for those who desire it. And tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to read